The grand conclave of Xylos pulsed with a nervous energy that vibrated through the very foundation of the ancient structure. Holographic projections flickered across the vast chamber, displaying sensor readings, strategic analyses, and the haunting, unfamiliar images of human ships. Silence, heavy and absolute, had descended after the latest intelligence report, a silence broken only by the low hum of the energy conduits that powered the conclave's immense computational matrices. Supreme Arbitrator Valerius, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the cold light of the projections, shifted his weight on his elevated dais, the subtle movement amplified by the chamber's acoustic dampeners. He felt the gaze of the assembled representatives of the Zalosian domains, each one a potent force in interstellar politics, a force now held captive by the unknown quantity that humanity represented. The readings remain consistent, spoke Counselor Lyra, her voice barely audible above the thrumming silence. Her avian features were drawn with worry, her normally vibrant plumage appearing dull in the artificial light. Their fleet, the one we designated as Alpha, it remains on the periphery of the neutral zone. No aggressive actions, no attempts at communication. Lyra gestured towards a complex holographic star chart, tracing the path of the human vessels with a trembling appendage. But their technology, it defies all known principles. The arbitrator allowed the implications of Lyra's words to settle over the conclave. Defiance of known principles. That was a phrase that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned Zalosian strategists. They had meticulously charted the known universe, categorized its threats, and established protocols for every conceivable scenario. Humanity, however, had arrived like a rogue variable, an equation that refused to balance. Their ships, constructed with materials that shouldn't exist, powered by energy sources that were theoretically impossible, moved with an agility that violated the laws of physics. And yet they simply waited. Grand Strategos Thuron, his reptilian gaze unwavering, spoke with a low growl. The fleet we detected, it is small, inconsequential. I have dispatched 3 Dominion fleets to the border to deter any potential incursion. Valerius fixed Thuron with a piercing stare. Deterrence is a futile strategy when dealing with the unpredictable. You assume that their fleet represents their entire capability. That is a dangerous assumption. With respect, Arbitrator, Thuron countered, his scales rippling slightly, we must operate on the available data, and the data suggests that humanity is primitive. Their technology may be unconventional, but their numbers appear limited. We must project strength, not weakness. A murmur of agreement rippled through the conclave. The Xylosians were a species forged in the crucible of interstellar conflict, their civilization built on a foundation of strategic dominance. To show fear, to hesitate, was to invite aggression. Yet, Valerius could not shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. Something about the quiet confidence emanating from the human ships, something about their utter lack of response to Zalosian probes and warnings, suggested a level of control, a level of calculation that belied their supposed technological inferiority. We have attempted to analyze their communications, said Counselor Rixus, his insectoid features twitching nervously. But their signals, they are unlike anything we have encountered. They seem to be self-encrypted, constantly shifting, impossible to decipher. It is as if they do not want to be understood. Valerius felt a chill crawl down his spine. That was the most disturbing revelation yet. If humanity possessed the technology to render their communications impenetrable, it meant they possessed a level of technological sophistication that far surpassed anything the Xylosians had initially estimated. And if they possessed that level of sophistication, why were they content to simply wait on the edge of the neutral zone? What was their objective? What were they planning? The silence stretched, thick with unspoken fears. Each member of the conclave wrestled with the same question. Were they facing a nascent threat that could be easily crushed, or were they standing on the precipice of a galactic war that could shatter the Xylosian domains? Valerius knew that the fate of their civilization hung in the balance, and the weight of that responsibility pressed down on him like a physical burden. Deep within the computational matrices of the conclave, hidden from the holographic projections and the worried gaze of the Zalosian representatives, a single line of code flickered into existence. A silent, invisible signal, transmitted from the seemingly passive human fleet, rippled through the network, bypassing security protocols and firewalls with effortless ease. The signal was a single word, a simple command: "Awaken!" Across the vast gulf of space, light years away from the grand conclave of Xylos, a blue and green planet hung suspended in the inky blackness. Earth. A world that had long ago learned the art of silent observation, the the power of calculated patience, and the devastating potential of unexpected strength. On the surface of Earth, in a hidden subterranean facility carved deep within the Appalachian Mountains, a colossal structure began to hum to life. For centuries, it had remained dormant, a relic of a forgotten age, a monument to a war that humanity had desperately tried to bury in the depths of its collective memory. But the signal from Fleet Alpha had reached its target, and the time for slumber was over. The structure was a shipyard, a gargantuan complex designed to construct vessels of unimaginable power. Vessels that dwarfed even the Xylosian Dominion fleets. Vessels that were not designed for exploration or trade, but for one purpose and one purpose only: total annihilation. As the shipyard awakened, colossal metal plates shifted, energy conduits crackled, and the air filled with the acrid smell of ozone. Deep within the bowels of the facility, the first of these war machines began to emerge from its cradle. A vessel forged from neutronium alloy, armed with weapons that could shatter planets, and crewed by soldiers who had been genetically engineered for combat. It was a harbinger of things to come, a symbol of the dormant power that humanity had kept hidden for so long. A power that was about to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting galaxy. Aboard the flagship of Fleet Alpha, a vessel designated Intrepid Asterisk, Captain Eva Rostova stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection of the Xylosian domains. Her face was etched with a grim determination, her eyes reflecting the cold light of the stars. She had been chosen for this mission not only for her strategic acumen and her unwavering resolve, but also for her profound understanding of the human condition. She knew that the Xylosians, like so many other alien civilizations, would underestimate humanity. They would see them as weak, divided, and technologically inferior, and that underestimation would be their downfall. "Captain," said Commander Jayan, her second-in-command, "we have received confirmation. The shipyard is operational." "The first wave is ready." Rostova nodded, her lips forming a thin, hard line. "Initiate Protocol Ragnarok," she commanded. "Let them see what Earth can truly unleash." Back on Xylos, the Grand Conclave remained locked in a state of anxious deliberation. The representatives argued and debated, their voices rising in pitch and volume. Some advocated for a preemptive strike, arguing that it was better to eliminate the human threat before it could escalate. Others cautioned restraint, urging a diplomatic approach. Arbitrator Valerius listened patiently, his mind racing to find a solution that would safeguard the Xylosian domains without igniting a galactic war. Suddenly, the chamber was plunged into darkness. The holographic projections flickered and died, the energy conduits sputtered and failed, and the hum of the computational matrices vanished, replaced by an eerie silence. Panic erupted. Representatives screamed and stumbled in the darkness, their voices filled with terror. "What is happening?" Valerius roared, his voice barely audible above the din. "Report!" A moment later, the emergency lighting flickered on, casting long, distorted shadows across the chamber. Counselor Lyra, her avian features contorted with horror, rushed towards the arbitrator. "Arbitrator," she gasped, her voice trembling, we have lost contact with the Dominion fleets, all three of them, and there is something. Something approaching our planet, something massive." Valerius felt his blood run cold. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that the moment he had dreaded had arrived. Humanity was no longer waiting. They were acting, and their actions promised to be devastating. On the bridge of the Intrepid Asterisk, Captain Rostova watched as the first wave of Earth's warships emerged from hyperspace, their neutronium hulls gleaming in the light of Xylos' sun. They were an unstoppable force, a tidal wave of destruction poised to engulf the unsuspecting planet. "Open a channel," Rostova ordered, her voice calm and steady. "Transmit the message." On Xylos, the emergency communication systems flickered back to life, and a single voice echoed across the Grand Conclave, a voice that was both alien and terrifyingly familiar. "People of Xylos," the voice said, "this is Earth. You have underestimated us. You have doubted us. Now you will learn the true meaning of fear." The message ended, and the skies above Xylos were filled with fire. The ensuing conflict was short and brutal. The Xylosian defenses, caught completely off guard, were annihilated with ruthless efficiency. Earth's warships tore through their fleets like predators through prey, their weapons obliterating everything in their path. The Grand Conclave of Xylos, once the center of a vast interstellar empire, was reduced to rubble. As the dust settled and the fires began to die down, Captain Rostova landed on the surface of Xylos, accompanied by a squad of heavily armed soldiers. She stood amidst the ruins of the conclave, her gaze sweeping across the devastation. She felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only a deep, abiding sadness. "Report," she said to Commander Jayan, who stood beside her. "The planet is secured, Captain," Jayan replied. "Resistance has been neutralized. We have begun the process of humanitarian aid and reconstruction." Rostova nodded. "Very well. Ensure that all Zalosian survivors are treated with respect and compassion. They are not our enemies. They are simply victims of their own arrogance." As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Earth began the long and arduous task of rebuilding Xylos. They provided food, shelter, and medical care to the survivors. They helped them to rebuild their cities and their infrastructure. And they taught them the importance of peace, cooperation, and understanding. The Zalosians, humbled by their defeat, were initially wary of their human benefactors. They struggled to understand why Earth had chosen to destroy them, only to then turn around and help them rebuild. But as they observed the humans' actions, as they witnessed their compassion and their dedication, they began to realize that Earth was not motivated by conquest or domination. They were motivated by a desire to create a better future for all. Slowly, painstakingly, a new relationship began to develop between Earth and Xylos. A relationship based on mutual respect, trust, and a shared commitment to peace. The Zalosians learned to value the humans' wisdom, their ingenuity, and their unwavering dedication to justice. And the humans learned to appreciate the Zalosians' resilience, their intelligence, and their deep connection to their planet. 1 year after the invasion, a new conclave was convened on Xylos. Representatives from Earth and Xylos stood side by side, united in their determination to build a better future. Captain Rostova addressed the assembly, her voice filled with hope and conviction. "People of Earth and Xylos," she said, "we have come a long way in the past year. We have overcome our differences, we have healed our wounds, and we have forged a new path forward, a path based on peace, cooperation, and understanding. But our journey is not yet over. There are still many challenges that lie ahead. There are still many threats that we must face. But I am confident that together we can overcome any obstacle and create a future where all civilizations can thrive in peace and harmony." As Rostova finished speaking, a wave of applause erupted from the conclave. The representatives of Earth and Xylos rose to their feet, their faces beaming with hope and optimism. They had learned a valuable lesson from the war. A lesson about the dangers of arrogance, the importance of humility, and the transformative power of compassion. But Rostova knew that there was a secret that the people of Xylos, and even most of Earth, did not know. The true reason for the destruction that they had wrought. It was not about dominance, it was about a preemptive defense against a looming threat. It had all started with a signal, faint and almost indiscernible, emanating from the deepest reaches of space. A signal that had been detected by Earth's most advanced listening posts. A signal that contained a single chilling message: "Prepare for the arrival." The message had been deciphered by a team of cryptographers and linguists who had determined that it was not a communication, but a warning. A warning about an ancient and powerful force that was about to awaken from its long slumber. A force that had the power to destroy entire galaxies. Earth's leaders had been faced with a difficult choice. They could try to warn the other civilizations in the galaxy, but they knew that most would dismiss them as alarmists or warmongers. Or they could take matters into their own hands and prepare for the coming storm. They had chosen the latter. The destruction of the Xylosian dominion was not an act of aggression, but an act of desperation. Earth had needed the Xylosians' resources and infrastructure to build the defenses that would be necessary to face the ancient threat. They had known that it would be a difficult and painful process, but they had believed that it was the only way to save the galaxy. And now, as Rostova stood before the new conclave, she knew that the time for preparation was coming to an end. The ancient threat was stirring, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Aboard a research vessel orbiting a desolate gas giant at the edge of explored space, Dr. Aris Thorne, lead xenoarchaeologist, stared at the readings with growing apprehension. The energy spikes had started subtly, dismissed as background radiation, but now they were intensifying, coalescing into a pattern that defied natural explanation. His team had been dispatched to investigate an anomaly detected by long-range scanners, a faint energy signature emanating from deep within the gas giant's atmosphere. What they were discovering was far more significant and far more terrifying than anything they could have imagined. "Dr. Thorne," a young astrophysicist, Lieutenant Chen, called out, her voice tight with anxiety, "the energy readings are off the charts. I've never seen anything like this. It's like something is waking up." Thorne approached the console, his eyes scanning the complex data stream. He recognized the signature now, a faint echo of the energy patterns he had studied in ancient texts, patterns associated with a long-lost civilization known only as the Architects. Legends spoke of the Architects as beings of immense power, capable of manipulating space and time, of building structures that spanned entire star systems. But the legends also warned of their arrogance and their ultimate downfall. "Increase magnification on Sector Gamma 9, Thorne ordered, his voice calm despite the growing sense of dread in his gut. The holographic display shifted, focusing on a specific region within the gas giant's swirling atmosphere. And then they saw it. A colossal structure, partially concealed by the dense clouds, a structure of impossible geometry and unimaginable scale. It was a machine, a weapon, a device of untold power, and it was coming online. "Transmit a Priority 1 alert to Earth Command," Thorne said, his voice barely above a whisper. Tell them the architects have returned." On Earth, in the war room of the Global Defense Council, alarms blared. The holographic display filled with images of the architect weapon, its energy signature growing stronger with each passing moment. Rostova stood at the head of the table, her face grim. "Confirm the readings," she said to Admiral Ito, commander of Earth's space forces. "Confirmed," Captain Ito replied. "The architect weapon is fully operational. It is charging its primary weapon. Estimated time to firing, 12 hours. A collective gasp filled the war room. 12 hours. That was all they had to prepare, to defend themselves against a weapon that could destroy entire planets. "What are our options?" Rostova asked, her voice calm and steady. "Limited, Captain," Ito replied. "We could attempt a preemptive strike, but the weapon is heavily shielded. We would need to penetrate its defenses before it can fire." "And the Zalosians?" Rostova asked. "They are willing to fight alongside us," Ito replied. "But their technology is no match for the architects." Rostova closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. She knew that the odds were stacked against them, but she also knew that humanity had faced impossible odds before and had always found a way to survive. "Prepare the fleet," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We are going to take the fight to the architects. We will not let them destroy our world. We will not let them destroy our future." As Earth's fleet prepared to engage the architect weapon, Rostova found herself reflecting on the events that had led them to this moment. The initial fear and mistrust of humanity, the revelation of their hidden strength, the alliance with the Zalosians. It was a testament to the power of understanding, the importance of unity, and the enduring spirit of humanity. Now, as they faced the greatest threat in their history, Rostova knew that they would need all of those qualities to survive. They would need to fight with courage, with determination, and with the unwavering belief that they could overcome any obstacle. The final battle was joined above the gas giant. Earth's fleet, bolstered by Zalosian vessels, engaged the architect weapon in a desperate struggle. The architect weapon unleashed its power, firing energy blasts that vaporized entire ships. But Earth's forces pressed on, relentlessly attacking the weapon's defenses. Rostova, aboard the intrepid Asterisk, led the charge, maneuvering her ship through the chaos of battle, dodging energy blasts and launching counterattacks. She knew that this was their only chance. If they failed, all would be lost. Finally, after hours of intense fighting, Earth's forces managed to breach the architect weapon's shields. Rostova ordered a full-scale assault on the weapon's core. The intrepid Asterisk, leading the way, launched a volley of powerful missiles, targeting the weapon's central energy generator. The missiles struck their target, triggering a chain reaction that tore through the weapon's structure. The architect weapon began to crumble, its energy signature fading, and then with a final, deafening explosion, it was destroyed. The battle was over. Earth had won, but the victory had come at a heavy price. Many ships had been lost, and countless lives had been sacrificed. But humanity had survived, and they had proven once again that they were a force to be reckoned with. In the aftermath of the battle, as the survivors began to pick up the pieces, Rostova stood on the bridge of the intrepid Asterisk, her gaze fixed on the stars. She knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The destruction of the architect weapon had revealed the existence of a threat far greater than anything they had ever imagined. And she knew that humanity, along with its allies, would need to be ready to face that threat. They would need to continue to build their defenses, to strengthen their alliances, and to explore the mysteries of the universe. But as she looked out at the stars, Rostova also felt a sense of hope. The battle against the architects had brought humanity and the Zalosians closer together. They had forged a bond of trust and understanding that would last for generations. And they had proven that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could achieve the impossible. The victory against the architects was not just a victory for Earth. It was a victory for all civilizations that valued freedom, justice, and peace. And it was a sign that, even in the darkest of times, there was always hope for a brighter future. Years later, a joint Earth-Zalosian expedition discovered a hidden chamber within the ruins of the architect weapon. Inside, they found a holographic message, left behind by the architects themselves. The message revealed the truth about their origins, their purpose, and their ultimate fate. The architects were not a naturally evolved species. They were created by an even more ancient and powerful civilization, known only as the precursors. The precursors had designed the architects to be guardians of the galaxy, to protect it from any threats that might arise. But the architects had grown arrogant and corrupt. They had begun to see themselves as the rulers of the galaxy, rather than its protectors. They had used their power to oppress other civilizations, to conquer new worlds, and to amass vast amounts of wealth and resources. The precursors, disgusted by the architects' behavior, had decided to destroy them. They had unleashed a powerful weapon that wiped out the architects' civilization, leaving behind only a few remnants of their technology. The message ended with a warning. The threat that the architects were created to protect against still exists. It is only a matter of time before it awakens. When it does, the galaxy will face its greatest challenge yet. Rostova, after listening to the message, knew that the war against the architects was only the beginning. The true threat was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its opportunity to strike. And she knew that humanity, along with its allies, would need to be ready to face it. They would need to continue to learn, to adapt, and to evolve. They would need to forge new alliances, to develop new technologies, and to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity's journey had only just begun. And as they ventured into the unknown, they would carry with them the lessons they had learned from the past. The lessons about the dangers of arrogance, the importance of humility, and the transformative power of compassion. They would carry with them the hope for a brighter future. A future where all civilizations could thrive in peace and harmony. A future where humanity could finally fulfill its destiny among the stars.